So this is going to be 8.1, right triangles and trigonometry. So we're going to be talking about right triangles and the Pythagorean theorem. So just remember your hypotenuse is always this side, and these are always my legs. And your hypotenuse should always sit across from your 90-degree angle, and it should always be the longest length. So always across from that right angle and always the longest length. So Pythagorean theorem. So this is Pythagoras, who discovered the Pythagorean theorem, to discover why it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared, because if I do the area of this square and the area of this square, it should equal the area of this square. Okay, so the Pythagorean theorem is going to be your one leg squared, so a squared, plus your other leg squared, so b squared, and it should equal c squared. So your hypotenuse, which should always be the longest length. So find the value of y expressed in the simplest radical form. So this is, we'll say this is a, this is b, and this is c. So 10 squared plus 5 squared should equal c squared, so 100, plus 25 equals c squared, so 125 equals c squared. So you got to square root both sides to get rid of the squared. We're going to simplify this radical. So let's break down the radical. Let's think of something that we could take the square root of. So we could take the square root of 25. Well, 25 times 5 can get me 125. So we can break it down like that, and the square root of 25 is 5. So my answer to C is going to be 5 square root 5. So my next one, A, B, C, we're going to do 6 squared plus y squared equals the square root of 85 squared. So 6 squared is 36. When you take the square root of a square root, that square root cancels, so it's just left with 85 because they're basically opposites of each other. So now let's subtract 36. So y squared equals 49. To get rid of that squared, we have to do the opposite, so square root. So square root of 49 is 7. So y equals 7. So I'm going to erase this so that I can do the next one over here. So we're going to say this is A, this is B, this is C, because my hypotenuse always sits across from that 90-degree angle. So y squared plus 11 squared equals 61 squared. So y squared plus 121 equals 3721. Subtract 121. So y squared equals 3,600. You have to take the square root of both of them. The square root of that is going to be 60. So y equals 60 in that situation. So my next, sorry, this is written really sloppily, it would come up. So a Pythagorean triple is a set of non-zero whole numbers, so a whole number that's not negative, that represents a, b, and c that satisfy my equation a squared plus b squared equals c squared. So 3, 4, 5 work, 5, 12, 13 work, 8, 15, 17. So basically you would square root them and get whole numbers when you solved it in a squared plus b squared equals c squared. The size of a computer monitor. So here's my computer monitor. The size of the computer monitor is the length of its diagonal. You want to buy a 19-inch monitor that has a height of 11 inches. So we know our height is 11 inches. And it says 19-inch monitor. So the size of it is going to be its diagonal. So this is 19. So I'm going to do 11 squared plus, let's say this is b squared equals 19 squared. So 121 plus b squared equals 361. Subtract 121. So b squared equals 240. We square root 240, so b equals, and we want to do it to the nearest tenth of an inch. So it's going to be 15.5 inches. Make sure you label it. Sorry, that was really ugly, but it says inches. Okay, so theorem 8.2, the converse of the Pythagorean theorem. So we have c squared equals a squared plus b squared, so we have a right triangle, which is what we've been talking about. We can also figure out an obtuse triangle if my hypotenuse is bigger than me adding my a squared plus b squared, and the opposite of that, we can get an acute triangle if my c squared, or my hypotenuse, is smaller than when I add my a squared plus b squared. So we're going to try that. in this when we're trying to decide if it is acute, right, or obtuse. So remember, my hypotenuse is always my longest length. So we're going to do 10 squared plus 24 squared equals 26 squared. So 100 plus 24 squared is 576. 26 squared is 676. So 676 is equal to 676. So if they equal, then it is a right triangle. So this one is a right. So now 20 squared plus 21 squared equals 28 squared. So I'm going to simplify this real quick to see what we get. So in this situation, my a squared plus b squared is larger. So I need to look at the one that one is larger. So this is an acute triangle. And then I'm going to do my last one. So 5 squared plus 8 squared equals 10 squared. So 25 plus 64 equals 100. So 89 is equal to 100. So in this situation, my c squared is bigger. So the one with my c squared being bigger is an obtuse triangle. So this one is obtuse. So make sure you get all of these rules written down specifically because they're very key into doing the homework assignment.